heavyweight champion Joe Louis once said, he knows what he's saying, and he said this: everyone wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. I know everybody wants a prize, but nobody works for it hard. And unless we die, we cannot get to heaven. Not only die physically to get to heaven, but also die in this world for the faith that you believe. And that is what the first reading of today speaks of. Entering into God's rest is the theme for our reflection today. Israelites who did not believe could not make it to the promised land. That's what the first reading Hebrews speaks of today. Because of lack of faith, they could not get into the promised land. What is the ultimate failure of human life, if you were to ask? I would say it is loss of heaven. Because this is only what is called the fringe benefit. Life here on earth is the fringe benefit. The actual benefit or reward is the heaven, which is eternal. So the loss of heaven should be the ultimate failure of human life, because eternity is what you lose, is something that you lost forever. Entering God's rest must be our major concern in life then. Yes, my dear friends, how does your everyday life reflect the fact that our ultimate destiny is heaven? If I believe I have to get to heaven, and then what is my life doing? What am I doing in my life? Fidelity or faithfulness is needed that a Christian enters God's rest. That's what the readings of today speaks of. I'll tell you an example. On a ship headed to Paris in 1924 Olympic Games, Eric was enrolled for 100 meters race, but the games fell on Sunday, and his teammate asked, "What about, does that matter?" And he said yes. And Eric refused to run the race on Sabbath, that is Sunday. A teammate afterwards offers to switch and run for 400 meters. So the teammate switched, but of course he was supposed to run sprinter that is 100 meters. Now it is for 400 meters. No one believes in a sprinter has a chance to win 400 meters, because for a short span, somebody is trained to run. You cannot go on for a longer span because you need to have the stamina. And the gun fires, Eric is here, and Eric leads all through, remembering what his sister has said to him. God made me fast. He remembered that. God made me fast. And he crosses the finish line first. My dear brothers and sisters, Eric ran for God. What about you? He was not ready to do it on Sabbath. So first priority is God. So if heaven is the first priority, what is that you are able to give up? How do we honor the day, the Sabbath? Even the day, during the day, how do we honor God? What time do we give? And what time we spend in prayer? Do you read the Word of God and challenged by the Word of God? And stand up for God and God's ways? A lot of people don't do that. But in Joshua 24:15, Joshua tells us, "Me and my family will serve Yahweh." Yes, my dear brothers and sisters, what about us? John 14:27 says, "My peace I give you." If you do that, you will enter God's rest. "I do not give to you as the world gives." And he further says beautiful things. "Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid." We don't need to be afraid of anything in this world if we have God's peace, enter God's rest. God's rest means not just only after death to heaven, but even here, in spite of the difficulties. And I can tell you my own experience. When He gives it to you, you enjoy it. No matter what, in want or need, you are at peace. And people accept you or not, people criticize you or not, people are with you or not, you are at peace because God gives you that rest. And St. Paul would say, if God is for us, who is against us? So my dear brothers and sisters, if you would like to enter that rest, ask yourself, do I consider entering God's rest is the ultimate thing in my life? And what is that I am ready to do for it? And the second reflection I want to make on today's gospel, Mark chapter 2, 1 to 12. You know, many times we hear this word, I owe my success to my wife or husband. Some people say that. Like, because of my wife, I'm a great singer. Actually, I did not believe it, but she had faith in my singing, so I became a singer. That's what you say. Similarly, a teacher has faith in the student more than a student has faith in himself or herself. Same thing, parent in the son or the daughter. Sometimes their faith brings you to fame and name and to success. Now today we have a paralytic man in the gospel, and he is, in other words, saved because of the faith or by the faith of the 4 friends who brought him. Their faith attracts Jesus' attention. And today we know that St. Augustine is saved because of his mother, St. Monica. And we know many saints like that. So, man is basically not only individual but also communitarian. And that's why we have in the book of Bible, in the Genesis, Abel and Cain story, where God says, where is your brother? Ask Cain. And then he says, am I my brother's keeper? Yes, you are your brother's keeper. You have relationship with your brother, who has relationship with God. And we have. That's why Jesus says, if you give least to the cup of water to the least of these brothers, you give it to me. Today's world is one of individualism. Independence is good, but interdependence is better. But my dear friends, individualism, too much of independence, to come to say, don't bother me. I have my life. I want to have my life. Don't bother me. That's what we hear, even from family members. So today God is calling us. You are also communitarian, because sin, forgiveness and reparation are personal affairs, you may say, but they are also as much as they are community affairs. So my dear brothers and sisters, we are called to be a community. Minu Masani says, no man is an island. Yes. The paralytic man, a burden to the neighbors, but the neighbors did not say he's a burden. They took the trouble to get him to Jesus for cure, and Jesus cures and sends him back to the community. And we know about Jesus healing the mother of Peter. And what does she do immediately? She goes and serves the guests. So we are blessed, we are healed to serve the community. We are elected to serve the community. So in Christianity, this is the concept that our blessing is meant to be a blessing and help for others. In sin, you are helpless. So when it comes to the question of sin, we need to help our brothers and sisters. Today, people don't correct each other. I don't bother. And who are you to correct? But spiritual community should be concerned about you. And that is what the church is all about. Every sin, my dear brothers and sisters, is an offense against others and hurts others. Therefore, Jesus said, go and show to the priest. Why to the priest? Because priest is the representative of the community, and the people who got healed were supposed to go and see the community and make peace with the community. So, therefore, penance too must be community oriented. And today, my dear brothers and sisters, are we feeling this responsibility to our brothers and sisters in our own family, spiritually? So don't just enjoy your wife or husband, but physically, maybe you help each other, you serve each other, you provide for each other, but spiritually too, are you there for each other to support, to grow in spirituality? Similarly with our siblings, similarly with your children. So ask yourself,